Hospitality industry, how does it work? Well, how does a hotel make money? Not surprisingly, perhaps, hotels make money out of guest rooms. Guest rooms. They make some money out of meeting rooms, and they make a little money out of food and beverage. Why do they make less money out of food and beverage? Well, largely because it's not a main focus for them, and it's highly labor intensive, therefore there's a lot of cost needed to support the food and beverage operation. Now, different hotels will be different, but this is generally, on average, somewhere an approximation of what you'll find in our industry. How do hotel brands make money? And I'm making a distinction between brands and hotels. Well, they're very different animals. Hotel brands, in this case Marriott, we're staying in a Marriott hotel, make money out of branding and management fees. They make money out of commissions on reservations that supply to the hotel, and they make money out of technical services fees. Things like, how do you build the hotel, Mr. Hotel Owner, and turn it into a Marriott hotel? And if they own hotels, and it's a big if, they also make profits from hotel ownership. Now, there's very many variations on this theme, right? Some brands are strong, some brands are weak, but please understand that a hotel is not a brand. A hotel is owned by a hotel owner generally, and it's not the same necessarily as the brand above the door. And we're going to explain that now. Let's look at how hotels are owned. And this is a very important slide, because if you don't understand this, you will not know who you're talking to when you're in conversation with the hotelier. The hotel industry is extremely capital intensive, and this leads to asset-light strategies. So there are essentially three models of hotel operation and management. The owner-operator model, where the building owner, the hotel operation, and the brand are one company. There is the management contract model, where the hotel owner is separate from the company that employs the people in the hotel and also is the brand above the door. And then there is a further separation where the building owner, the hotel operation, and the brand are separate entities and separate companies. And that actually is the structure that you, as the traveling public, typically find. Now, I mentioned Hotel Akira and Citizen M. They are owner-operators, and that's very, very important, because you can imagine this as a pyramid, right? There's more hotels on the bottom than there are on the top. But innovation happens when risky decisions can be taken, and risky decisions can be taken where there are fewer people required to make those decisions. So if you're at the top, if you're in the owner-operator model, you can generally lead the pack. Let's talk about those brands again. These are the brands that you typically run across every single day. And I wonder whether you've actually considered which hotel brands are bigger. And what you'll actually see here, and this is a slide that I borrowed from somebody, that the brands are actually collections of brands. So they don't stand alone. And indeed, this slide is slightly out of date because the Starwood brand no longer exists independently and is now owned by Marriott, which places Marriott as the biggest hotel brand in the world. But the reason for putting this up here, because I'm talking to a largely European audience, is because there is only one brand of that scale in Europe, and that's Accor. And you think, well, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because this is a good thing, right? This is a good thing, because you're mostly European. Because there have been salesmen that have grown old and died trying to sell to Marriott. Truly. It is so hard to get the big hotels to engage and to change. And the important thing is, therefore, because we're in Europe, and because you need to talk to hotels, the hotel brands are less represented here in Europe. Therefore, your opportunity is significantly bigger in Europe than it would be correspondingly in the United States. And this is a chart that I've taken from Howarth. They are authorities on the hotel market globally. It's from 2017, and it represents the penetration of the known hotel brands that you find in the European market. And on average, somewhere about 30% branded hotels. Now, that would go up, I think, quite a lot if you remove the hotels maybe that had fewer than 30 rooms. But nevertheless, somewhere in the region of maybe 30, 35, 40% branded hotels in Europe versus 70 to 80 to 85 in North America. And that's an important differentiation. And that gap is an opportunity for you. Truly it is. So let's quickly look at products. Products. Start with rooms. Very profitable. It's the primary product. Pricing is variable. It's semi-real time. Tables. In food and beverage, pricing is generally fixed. It's moderately profitable. And meeting rooms, also moderately profitable. And the pricing is different. Pricing variable, pricing fixed, pricing custom per event. And the important thing is, please understand this for retailers, these are perishable products. So this is a meeting room sold today. You cannot sell today's meeting room tomorrow. You cannot sell a room night available today tomorrow. These are all perishable products. There are literally almost no non-perishable products in the hotel industry. Payments is something that will be quite different to you if you're coming to hotels from retail. It's a long payment flow. The transaction can be open for days, for weeks, for months. We typically receive a lot of third-party reservations. We receive a lot of international reservations. So there's international credit cards and international payment methods to deal with. Most of the payment today in hotels is card-present payment at checkout. Most of it. And that means that you've got a transaction open for a long period of time. And it's a lot more complicated than that. This is an actual payment flow from an OTA transaction. And what it shows you is that the payment instrument, the credit card, has to transfer from an OTA, it has to transfer to a chain CRS. From a chain CRS, it has to transfer to the hotel. And then it has to be effected and settled. And there's many operations during that time. So heads up, please. If you want to be credible to the hotel industry, this is one of those points that you need to understand. Payment is difficult in our industry. It's different from retail. Educate to be aware and be credible to the hotelier. So let's talk about customers. Customers. There are possibly three types of customers. I'm going to broaden that definition a little bit. But customers are individuals, customers are intermediaries, and customers are corporates. And the split really depends on product. So if you're talking about rooms, individuals, that's you people, you're paying the bill. But you may actually not have booked the reservation. The reservation could have been booked by your company, or you could be staying at a hotel that's mandated by your company, and the sales effort to sell you that room has actually happened a few months before you arrive with a bulk sale via the sales department of the hotel to your travel buyer, and typically those bulk contracts are done maybe a year out, and they supply you at a discounted rate. Equally, there are booking intermediaries, such as OTAs, and you see those same booking intermediaries when you go into meeting rooms. So you see event planners, for example, and I suspect this meeting is probably organized in some way via an event planner. So the event planner to the hotel is, in fact, the customer, the primary customer. And again, individuals. And then on food and beverage, you have individuals again, and you have hotel guests. Important distinction, food and beverage individuals are mostly local. They come from the surrounding area. The people who are staying in the hotels almost certainly do not. They are out of town, OOT. Very often, they arrive at an airport, as nearly all of you have done today. So, phew, I think I'm still on time. Now, you are all hospitality experts, right? And hotel experts. And I have a question for you. But before I ask that question, I want to take you on a little journey. And this is a journey that I think many of you will have had before. So you make a reservation online at your favorite hotel where you have stayed before. And a few days before arrival, you receive an email from the hotel letting you know how special you are and how the hotel just wants to welcome you. You arrive at the hotel, get out of the taxi, you walk through the door, and the bellman says, "Hello," greets you like your long-lost friend. And then, of course, you walk to the front desk, and you engage in the following conversation. "Hello, I have a reservation. My name is Nick Price." And the hotel receptionist says, "Oh yes, for 2 nights, is that correct?" "Yes, certainly is, thank you. May I have a credit card to cover the extras?" And I hand over my credit card and I start wondering, why do I need to give that again? That's a bit strange. And the lady behind the desk says, "I have you in a superior room." And then, as she hands over the key, she asks that question: "Have you ever stayed here before?" And at that point, my blood pressure is through the roof. I am off the charts angry. And I say, "Yes, I have. I've stayed here 10 times in the last 2 months. You've said this to me before." And she says to me, "Well," and she says something to me, and I wonder whether you know what's coming next. She says, "Well," and she's very embarrassed, "welcome back." Holy cow, that's CRM in action. I mean, really? Are you kidding me? Right? Are you kidding me? And I said, "What? You can't do this. You can't." I mean, I am so angry at this point, and I think every customer should be angry at this point. And if you're a technologist like me, you say, well, why? Why is that the case? And in order to understand why, we now have to look at hotel technology. So let's do that. Hotel technology. Let's start with a term that you were introduced to yesterday. Hotel PMS stands for Property Management System. Sounds like a very grand title to me for what it actually does. And I actually prefer to call it a rooms management system or rooms inventory system, which I'll come on to later. But let's call it a hotel PMS for now. And it receives reservations. And it is connected in one way or other to a chain loyalty scheme. Now, the important thing here, of course, now you're all hotel experts, you realize that the hotel could be owned by a separate company from the chain. And so there's kind of a loose affiliation between this chain loyalty scheme and the hotel, and it could actually be disconnected. So the hotel receives a reservation, and that reservation is attached to that reservation is a profile, a booking profile. It may or may not exist in that chain loyalty scheme, but if it does exist in that chain loyalty scheme, the chances of the hotel actually retrieving that name and identifying you are very, very, very low. You would have had to show your card at the point of reservation in order for you to have any chance of being recognized. And if you'd have booked by Booking.com, Booking.com is not going to let you show a Marriott rewards number and pass that through a reservation. So you can begin to see the problem. That problem manifests itself into the fact that chain loyalty schemes, even the best of them, typically have only about 20% of total customers in them. Many, many loyalty schemes have many fewer than that. So now let's talk about restaurants, because this is, in fact, the entry point for you, probably, into hotels. If you are lucky enough, like the Akira Amsterdam, to have wonderful restaurants and you open those restaurants to outside customers, and many hotels do, you typically have a booking system. And you will receive those local travelers into your hotel. The question is, how many of those F&B customers are actually loyalty members in this chain loyalty scheme? Anybody care to guess? 0, right? 0, because it's actually technically impossible. It's technically impossible because that customer reservation never makes its way to the hotel PMS. Never. In fact, what you see is it gets worse, because then you add on spa and you add on meetings, and you realize that what you have is a very loosely connected, poorly connected set of systems that keep customer information separately, that keep inventories separately, and really all they do is pass through summary financial information to the hotel PMS, which then may get passed through to finance. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the architecture that you will find everywhere in the hotel industry. And we'll call it a PMS-centric architecture for now. Separate inventory, customer information held separately, and very weak interfaces, mostly financial. There's one other little trick here that you need to understand. OTA reservations, OTA, online travel agent reservations, which are a major source of incoming reservations to the hotels. Major source, can be 30%, 40%, 50%. For small independent hotels, maybe even 60, 70, 80% of their total business is coming in via OTAs. Look what happens when you get a booking from an OTA. What you will find, I, the customer, have given the OTA my name, I've given them my credit card number, I've given them my address, and I've given them my email. And they have passed everything through to the hotel except the email address. So if I stayed at this hotel 10 times, that reservation coming from the OTA will have 10 different email addresses. Now, I ask you to wonder why that is with me. I would say, well, let's just put it like this. It's extremely difficult for the hotel to use the email address as a primary key for data deduplication to help the hotel identify you. And that's exactly why, when you turn up at the hotel, you've been there 10 times before, there's 10 separate profiles for Nick Price. The poor lady behind the desk knows that. She doesn't trust any of them, which is why she's asking you if you've ever stayed here before, right? Technology is at fault. That, however, doesn't stop hotel PMS companies from building hotel PMSs that are loosely coupled in this way, right? There are literally 20, 30, 40 PMSs out there globally, and they all look like this. And I have taken some marketing slides from a couple of hotel PMS companies, and this is one of them. I've doctored them a bit to save their embarrassment, but this is effectively what they sell. This loosely connected constellation of applications around this thing called a PMS. And frankly speaking, it's wrong. It doesn't work. It has never worked. The evidence is there in front of you. It doesn't work. You can't recognize your customers. That's fundamental to any retail situation. And by the way, hotels are a retail situation. We're selling experiences. And to sell the experience, we need to know who you are. Number one need. So that's wrong. And if it was, I'm a kind of technical architect, if I wanted to represent hotel systems architecture, this PMS systems architecture as a house, this is what it would look like. A collection of garbage. Actually, this is a house, and it's here in Germany, which is why I thought it would be quite fun to put on there. Someone enjoys living in it. I don't think I would. But the good news, and it really is good news, is it doesn't have to be like this. Truly, honestly, it doesn't have to be like this. But the hotel industry needs to take brave, bold steps to do something different, and it needs itself to educate itself. So I'm now going to look at the opportunity for hotel ERP, and this should come to familiar ground for all of you. So let's have a look, and let's do that through the eyes of two hotel companies with whom I am working. And there are ongoing LS-NAV implementations at both these companies. And just in case it wasn't apparent before, I'm heavily involved with both of these companies, and I'm leading the tech effort at both of them. So, Hotel Akira Amsterdam, a single, large 5-star hotel. It's an owner-operator model. There's 300 bedrooms, 5 restaurants, 3 Michelin stars, 2 bars, spa, fitness club, extensive meetings and events, and unusually, revenue, 45% rooms, 55% other. Unusually. Now, you saw a video of this hotel yesterday. General manager Mikael Rolfsson, who's sitting at the back there probably. Great hotel. Really a building with multiple businesses in it. From the eyes of the employee, but from the eyes of the customer, it's a single business. It's a single business, which should be. Citizen M Hotels, a fast-growing international hotel chain. The owner-operator model, as Akira owner-operator model, 14 hotels today, building them very fast, 50 hotels soon. Typical hotel, 220, kiosk check-in, 6 small meeting rooms, simple 24/7 food and beverage. And importantly, the first lead company to adopt a retail organization structure in hotels. So this is a centralized company. At the hotel, for those 220 bedrooms, today, right now, you will find 6 or 7 uniformed employees. Housekeeping is outsourced, engineering is outsourced, but uniformed employees, 6 or 7. That implies that all of the decision-making, all of the management decisions, manager of this, director of that, all of those decisions are made centrally. And when I talk about centrally, I talk about centrally in the Netherlands for a hotel that's operating in New York, or a hotel that's operating in Taipei, or a hotel that's operating in Shanghai. That is quite a different structure from what you'll see typically in hotels, but it is indicative of a future trend in the hotel industry. And in this hotel company, revenue from rooms typically about 90% and the rest 10%. So that gives you some orientation. What were the needs of these two companies to come into LSNav? Very quickly, know the customer. Know the customer. 55% of your business doesn't come from rooms, and your chain loyalty scheme only has room customer information. You need to know that customer. It's imperative for the success of your company. Basket shopping. There's a wonderful array of products available at Hotel Akira Amsterdam, but online, you can't buy any of them in combination. Each one of them has a separate booking engine. Each one of them requires separate payments. It's crazy. It's crazy. Improve food and beverage profitability. There's a big, long, complicated supply chain, entirely manual, that contributes to the food and beverage profitability, negatively contributes to food and beverage profitability, just because of the number of people in the chain. And importantly, one very important thing here, if we're going to give a modern basket shopping experience to our customers across all the hotel products on our web or on our mobile, we also need to do exactly the same thing for our employees. Because I could call and say, I want a reservation at your hotel for a room. I want also a reservation for a restaurant. And today, each one of those res agents has 3 different computers. And that's kind of crazy. So Citizen M, very similar story. Automation, want to remove the manual processes. Make stock replenishment automatic and effective. Improve the food cost. And the reasoning here is very simple. You've got 6 people. You don't want them in a cold store counting frozen chicken. You want them out there greeting the guest. And importantly for Citizen M, also the opportunity for adjacent applications. So I mentioned those 6 small meeting rooms. Great opportunity to automate and optimize with a system that's already running food and beverage. Importantly, both Citizen M and Akira Amsterdam had NAV already in place. That's an important consideration. So it made it much easier to take these modern systems into the existing hotels. Now, let's move on. So we're going to now look at the technology here. Let's look what's installed or planned for installation. And we start with an architecture, a real architecture, that de-emphasizes the role of the PMS. Not because there are fewer ancillary functions, but because they're connected to the PMS differently. So these systems here that are connected to the PMS are connected through a modern service bus middleware that exists in the cloud and on-premise in the hotels. And it needs to exist on-premise in the hotels because to us, a door lock is a system, a TV is a system, an elevator control is a system, right? Systems are physical to us as well as inventory and point of sale and property management system. All of that technology needs to be controlled because the customer goes through all of it. The customer journey crosses all of it. So this is a good architecture. What we have done, however, is reduce the number of connected systems to that hotel OS service bus model because we've introduced a modern ERP based on LSNav. And what you have here is effectively now 2 inventory storage and management systems for all the inventories in a hotel. Whereas before you would have had many. This is huge for the hotel industry. It's huge for these 2 companies. Absolutely huge. So I'm now going to go into more detail, and I hope that doesn't cause you concern. To give you some help here, I want you to remember 2 colors. The green is this thing called Hotel OS. And the reason I called it Hotel OS is because I've written about this in various publications. If you want to learn more about it, you can. There's a link at the end of the presentation. And it is essentially, as I said, a service bus-based middleware that exists in the cloud and physically at the hotels. That's green. And then the gray is LSNav. Let's go into some more detail. So this is what you find in these hotels. You've got this service-oriented middleware, you have LSNav managing multiple inventories, and you have a separate PMS managing rooms inventory. Still much better than that hub and spoke PMS-centric architecture. But notice that notice the significant role played by middleware. It here is providing a universal booking engine to do that basket shopping. And it is also providing extensive customer profile management, hygiene, and a customer ID. And is also providing communications amongst and across those systems. And this is not fiction, this is happening in both these companies. Important though, from here on, I just wanted to let you know, important from here on, I am now going to introduce to you a concept for the future. I have no great insight into what LS Hotels is going to be. I do, however, have great insight into what our hotel industry needs. So if I was, on behalf of our hotel industry, speaking to the development team of LS Hotels, this is what I'd be asking for. First of all, we start with the PMS, and you've heard that, right? It now becomes part of LSNav. If it does, what is the implication of this? What's the opportunity? And this is strictly vision and conjecture, right? So first of all, inventories would not be held separately anymore. There would be common storage, and most importantly, a common set of APIs to access that single inventory storage. And this reduces the complexity, which is a significantly good thing. We would also hope that a universal booking engine capable of basket shopping could be available out of the ERP box. And payment also could be part of the same package. And you notice at the bottom that business intelligence has also become part of the same package. And if we did this with common APIs above common inventory systems, it becomes more feasible to address multiple channels from the same APIs. Now, why is this important? Why is this important? Because in hotels, the customer journey can last weeks and months. Weeks and months. So, if we have a mobile app, if we have web, if we have chat to the guests on our mobile device, and if we perhaps have voice, maybe something like Alexa, it is entirely reasonable that that single customer journey could cross all of them and physically with our hotel employees in one reservation, one transaction. And therefore, in order to do that and provide that seamless customer experience, we need to provide the same capabilities regardless of what channel we're talking through and we're addressing the customer through. Now, last thing, and this is a stretch, LSNav development team, this is a stretch. My hope on behalf of the hotel community is that this modern ERP system would take note of the very evident issues with the hotel customer model and fix them, because it is hugely difficult, it is hugely complex, and we need a company of the very clear and capable size and scale such as LS Retail to help us, because there is no one else doing this in hospitality and hotels. And that was the end of the vision. And if there was a product like this in hotels, I think it would sell very, very widely, very, very successfully. And I'm in touch with many hotel companies, and I know what they want, and they want something like this. So I'm now going to go back to reality, because I want to just introduce you to something else. We have so far talked only about operational hotels, but this is a physical business. Someone has to build these hotels. And typically, if you're an owner-operator, that's you, right? So this is very relevant. We, in Citizen M, as a good example, we have a second vertical application above nav. And that's the great thing about having an ERP, because when I build a hotel, I've got to buy a window, and I've got to buy some concrete, and I've got to buy a roof, and I've got to buy desks and rooms. That has to happen somehow. That has to be project managed. Those are fixed assets that sit in finance that somebody then needs to maintain and manage when the hotel is operational. So here's another application, not from LS Retail, sitting above the same financial foundation, sitting alongside LS Nav. Hugely beneficial, and a great opportunity. And it rounds out the story for the hotel owner-operator. If we move on, and we take a look at the broader capabilities through the Microsoft product family, and you've heard about that in the preceding presentation. You obviously have Office 365, you have Dynamics CRM, and you have Azure. If we were to remove the construction piece, because Hotel Akira is, of course, already built, this is what you find. This is where Hotel Akira is headed. So please understand that what we're doing with LS Nav and LS Retail, while it is seriously advanced and tremendous opportunity, it's not the only thing we're doing. It's part of a much bigger, broader strategy for both of these hotels that is fine-tuned to them. Now, let's talk about that customer journey. Phew, I think I'm on time. Right. I could talk here about all the fancy things that you might have read about in the hotel press if you read it. Things like bypassing the front desk, opening the door with a phone. But really, while these things are very nice to have, our hotel industry has much more important and pressing issues to solve. And yes, once we've solved them, we can do all those fancy things, for sure. So now I want to talk you through exactly the way I think a hotel customer journey should start. And it starts, firstly, recognize the customer. When I arrive on any of your sites, any of your mobile apps, recognize me early. Apply what you know about me. If I'm a member of your scheme in some way and I have some points, apply them. If you know information about me, if I've told you that I want a specific room, or if I told you I might want my room at a particular temperature, or I told you that I'm a vegetarian, use that information. Use that information to help you sell me the right product and sell those products in combination as a basket. And throughout that process, promote, incentivize, and upsell. And if I've been a customer with you previously, and I most likely have, and I've given you some payment, credit card or debit card, store that information so that I can use it and only pay once. And then if I happen to need to change my arrival date or whatever, make that cancellation redemption easy. Now, if this seems kind of a little bit familiar to you, well, it should be to the retailers in the audience, because that is what you have been doing for years. And it's what I was doing when I was in retail. But it doesn't exist like this in hotels. So that's an opportunity for you. And then, of course, once you've done all that, you can address the on-property experience. So let's actually turn that into the kind of things that I might want to do in hotels. So if I go onto a hotel site, mobile app, web, I want my favorite room. And I do have favorite rooms at favorite hotels. I want my favorite room for the duration of my stay. I also want it to be warm. I want it to be 25 degrees. And by the way, Hotel Akira Amsterdam, every Japanese guest would want this. Every one. And they would be seriously disappointed if your room was not at 25 degrees, if their room was not at 25 degrees when they arrived. I want, of course, executive transfer to and from the airport, but I also want a table for a breakfast meeting, and I want 4 hours in a meeting room because I've got a sales pitch, and I have a dinner with an important client, so I want a reservation at your wonderful Michelin star restaurant, and I'm a fitness guy, so I want health club membership during the stay, and I want to relax, so I have a spa appointment. And my wife is arriving on the weekend, so I'd also like some flowers, and I'd like a bottle of champagne on the third night of my stay. Now, I ask you, to the hoteliers in the audience, to the retailers in the audience, to the hotel guests in the audience, have you ever managed to do that yourself on a website? Have you ever, on a mobile app, ever? How would you do that? How would you accomplish it? You would have to call. And the fact is you wouldn't call because it would be too difficult, so you just leave it all to chance when you got to the hotel. A highly unsatisfactory result for you and for the hotel. Now, if there are hoteliers in the audience, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what do I mean? I can sell packages. I can sell all this. I can sell in packages. So forgive me for just a minute. Let's look at hotel packages. And this is a real one. This is a Hotel Akira Amsterdam. This package here is the Serres Bib Gourmand package, and it includes an overnight stay, it includes a lavish breakfast, it includes a 3-course bibendum menu with wine, water, it includes a parking ticket, and it includes access to health. That, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, because of technology, is the only way before you arrive that you can yourself digitally buy those products in combination. There is no other way. There is no other way, and neither is there any other way in any other hotel. And if this was retail, right, it would be like telling that lady who's walking down the aisle with her shopping basket, and she's going to product, putting them in a basket, looking at it, putting it back, normal shopping experience. It would be telling her that the next time she goes into this supermarket, all she can do is buy that. Her shelves would be full of baskets. She can only buy the organic tomatoes if she buys a croissant. That doesn't work today. It just doesn't work. It's not the way the digital customer thinks anymore. It used to be acceptable. It no longer is. And that is the point. Is a digital customer, it no longer is. So, fortunately, technology to the rescue. Fortunately, there is a glimmer of hope out there. Now, there is an LS retail customer that I want to introduce you to. You probably have heard about them. It's called Stena Line. I didn't know this was an LS retail customer. As you've probably seen, I spend a lot of time in the Netherlands. I'm also from the UK, although I don't live there. I have family there. I go and I take my car on a ferry, and I am a very regular customer of Stena Line. And I've been just wowed by the experience that Stena Line has through its booking flow. And I've been using it as an example to all my clients, saying this is something we should really learn from. And then I spoke to Magnus about 6 months ago when he came to Hotel Akira Amsterdam, and I was saying, this is really fantastic. Can't we have something like this? And he said, yeah, well, you know, we play a part in that. LS Retail has a part in this booking flow. So I thought it very relevant to introduce it to you here. And I'm going to do that through a little movie of a booking experience that I am going to talk over as we go through, just so I can explain to you what's going on. So here I am. I'm on a website, and I am immediately going to identify myself to the website. And you'll notice that we have all the social media logins, or we could set up an independent account. And I'm on my Windows computer, so I'm going to use the Windows Live credentials. I then want to go into my profile and see what's available to me. So I go into my details, and I'm looking down here, and I find, guess what? I have a favorite route. Imagine this could be a favorite room in a hotel. I then go and look at my past bookings, because I have past and future bookings, and if I want to modify them or manage them or change them in any way, I can easily. Of course, I'm earning points through this, so let's just have a look at my past travel experiences where I've earned and redeemed points. And I can look here to see what offers and what special consideration I get because I'm such a loyal customer, and it's significant. And you'll notice on the left here that I can see very clearly who I am to this company, and I can see that it's accurate. Let's go and book a ferry. And I'm going to do a one-way ferry here from Harwich to Hook of Holland, and I'm going to do it for the 30th of April. So the first thing I'm going to do is basically do a shopping call. So I'm saying, what availability do you have? And I'm taking my car here. Notice that if I had an offer, I could apply it even now, right? So, wow, I can see that I can get a discount possibly. And I'm looking at flexible dates. So I just want to see what I'm going to find. And I have a great booking calendar here. And I can see the lowest dates. So if I wanted to change, I could. And now I'm looking at room types or cabin types or experience types. And I have economy, but I'm going to choose flexi. Notice it says, hey, why don't you upgrade to premium? Fantastic. That's a retailer's view. That's how retailers work. I'm now going to go and choose my cabin, my room, and I'm going to choose a comfort class 3-berth cabin. And hey, wouldn't you like to choose exactly the cabin, not just leave it to chance? Yes, I would actually. I'm going to choose this one, and it's that room, that cabin number. And by the way, I've only paid £7 for that privilege, and I'm very happy to do so because I know exactly which one I have. So, what else can we do? Well, what else might I want in my cabin? Well, I think I have a bottle of champagne as well, £32 added to my bill, which is being accumulated as I go, so I can see what's in my basket. Now, of course, I want to eat, so let's go to and choose dinner. I'm going to select my meals. So I'm going to have dinner for one person. And you know what? I'd really like a seat by the window. Well, okay, that's only £2. Great, thank you very much. I'd like to be able to see the waves and the sunset. Thank you very much. That's value to me. I'll take that. And of course, if I had pets and other things, I could add those too. Now I'm going to check out. And this shows me my booking. And it shows me, I'm going to add my car registration here. And it shows me, though you kind of understood everything I want, right? So I'm going to add my car registration, and then we're going to move on to payment. But notice there's special consideration for particular type of cars. I go in, and I continue to payment. And having done that, I get the summation of my trip. Notice it's still trying to offer me an upgrade to premium, and you know what? I might do that at this stage. I haven't done it. Right? But, why not spend an extra £1 to receive an SMS with my details? Yeah, I think I'll do that. Boom, I press the £1. And here, full payment, notice the debit, that these guys are offering debit. By the way, difference between debit and credit is what? About 3% off your margin, right? So if you can get people to pay debit, why not? This, ladies and gentlemen, is a stunning booking experience. It is exactly in line with the modern digital customer's expectations, and it should be available in all hotels. I congratulate Stena Line for having done this. This is the reason why I would never go to a third party to book a ferry for Stena Line. I would always go to their site, and yet for the majority of hotels worldwide, and I stay in many, I would always go to booking.com. Think about that, a huge advantage. And it is exactly because of this person, because this is the hotel guest of the very near future. She is a digital-first customer in our physical hotel world. When she arrives at our property, at the front desk, she brings with her digital expectations. Expectations have been shaped by Amazon and other online experiences. And she's very, very dissatisfied with what she finds, and she should be. So, in summary, this is a huge opportunity. It's a time for change. Hotels are competing badly with OTAs, and the new digital customer has created this sense of urgency. Hotels know they need to do something, but what can they do? Well, what they can do is they can learn from adjacent industries. They can learn from retail. They can learn from ferries. And they can learn from early leaders such as Akira and Citizen M. And the last message I would give you is this. educate yourself. If you want to be successful in hotels, and the field is wide open, the door is open for you. If you want to be successful in hotels, educate yourself about hotels. Do not think you can walk from the warehouse into the hotel lobby and be credible. You cannot. I've introduced you to a few concepts, there's many more, but I guarantee you, if you did make that transition from warehouse and retail store to a hotel lobby, and you were credible, with the technology that you have available to you, you truly can be very successful. So please, this new customer journey that we've talked about is already available. You've seen it in retail, you've seen it in ferries. Please bring it to hotels. Thank you very much.